High above the world, where clouds drift and gather in endless shapes, rises a mountain crowned with mist and touched by golden light. This is Mount Olympus, the eternal home of the gods, where every breeze carries whispers of stories that shaped the ancient world. At the very heart of Olympus sits Zeus, the king of gods, watching the earth below with a steady gaze filled with wisdom and power. He is not only ruler of the heavens, but also guardian of balance, listening to the rhythm of nature and the hopes of humankind. In his hand rests a symbol unlike any other, the lightning bolt, a spark of brilliance that lights the sky with sudden wonder. For some, it is a sign of strength and authority, glowing with the power of the heavens. For others, it is a reminder of justice, a radiant mark of truth and order. And for all, it is a mystery, a glowing path that bridges the distance between heaven and earth. Tonight, we journey into that mystery, following the light that flashes across the sky. We will uncover how Zeus came to hold this radiant power, what it meant to mortals, and why it was more than a fleeting strike. It was a message, a lesson, and a promise from the sky itself. High above the rolling hills of Greece, there rises a mountain so tall that it seems to pierce the very edge of the sky. This is Mount Olympus, the fabled home of the gods, where earth and heaven meet in eternal wonder. The mountain is clothed in silver mists, as if nature has woven a veil to guard its secrets from mortal eyes. Legends tell that no human could climb to its peak, for the air was too thin, the light too blinding, the presence too divine. In stories, Olympus was not only a mountain but a palace, a city, and a sanctuary beyond time. Ancient poets imagined shining halls of marble and gold rising above clouds that drifted like gentle seas. There, the gods lived in harmony, each with a realm of their own, yet united under the watchful gaze of Zeus. Imagine feasting halls filled with music and laughter, where ambrosia sweetened the air and nectar shone in golden cups. Olympus was also a mirror of the earth below, reflecting sunlight in calm days and thunder in storms. From their high throne, the gods could see villages, ships on the seas, and farmers working the fertile fields. Mortals could not reach Olympus, yet they felt its presence in storms, in sunrises, and in the whisper of the wind. Standing at its base, one would see slopes of green forests, streams of clear water, and a summit lost in glowing clouds. To the Greeks, Olympus was not only a mountain, but a sacred space in the heart, where divinity and dreams intertwined. It is here, among shining halls and golden skies, that Zeus reigns as king, guardian of order and balance. Olympus itself speaks in thunder, in dawn's first glow, and in the silence that follows a summer rain. The realm of Olympus is not just a backdrop, but a living presence, vast and eternal, bridging heaven and earth. And it is here, in this radiant realm, that the story of Zeus and his lightning begins. From the shining heights of Olympus, one figure stands above all others, a presence both commanding and comforting. This is Zeus, the king of the gods, ruler of the skies, and guardian of harmony between heaven and earth. To speak of Zeus is to speak of authority, but also of wisdom and vision. He is not a tyrant upon a throne of fear, but a leader whose power is balanced by justice and care. In his gaze, mortals and gods alike found both awe and reassurance. The stories tell us that Zeus was born not in glory, but in secrecy, hidden away for his protection. From these humble beginnings, he rose to become the sovereign of Olympus, a reminder that greatness can start quietly. When Zeus became king, his reign was not only about ruling, but about bringing order where chaos once reigned. The skies that thundered wildly now carried balance and rhythm, shaped by his guiding hand. The ancients pictured him seated upon a golden throne, his presence radiant as the sunday. His throne was more than a seat. It was a symbol of responsibility and trust. Every decision, every strike of lightning, every roll of thunder carried meaning. He was often called Father of Gods and Men, not because he gave life to all, but because his care stretched across both realms. He watched over mortals, ensuring that justice was kept and promises were honored. When honesty shone, they believed Zeus smiled, and when words were broken, They felt he had taken notice. Zeus was also a figure of wonder. His presence felt in sudden flashes of light across the sky. People lifted their eyes in awe, whispering his name, revering the brilliance above them. To them, Zeus was not only king, he was the very voice of the sky itself. Among the gods, each with their own power, his presence remained unique. He held the lightning bolt, not merely a weapon, but a radiant symbol of truth and light. Imagine sitting beneath a summer sky as clouds gather and a flash of lightning tears across the heavens. It is startling, yet magnificent, a glimpse of something greater than ourselves. This, the ancients believed, was Zeus reminding them that the divine was near. Zeus was not only present in storms, but also in calm. After thunder comes silence. After rain comes growth. His power was not only in force, but in balance and harmony. The eagle soared as his sacred bird, embodying vision and freedom. The oak tree stood as his sacred tree, strong and enduring, with roots deep and branches wide. These symbols reflected his essence, qualities of strength, endurance, and wisdom. Stories praised him as the upholder of order, the one who guided mortals through storms and toward light. He was not perfect, but his role was to lead, protect, and preserve the balance of all things. When people heard thunder rolling above, they thought not only of fear but of guidance. They felt connected to something larger, eternal, and divine. Zeus was present not only above them, but within the very rhythms of life itself. This is Zeus, the king of gods, radiant yet just, mighty yet mindful, a ruler whose lightning is a symbol of truth, order, and care. Every great symbol in mythology has a story of its beginning. Zeus's lightning bolt, brilliant and mysterious, was no exception. It was not something he stumbled upon, nor something he simply claimed. It was a gift, crafted with care, born of fire, and given with purpose. Long before Olympus shone with laughter, the world trembled with old powers. In that ancient age lived the Cyclopes, one-eyed giants with fiery skill. Though fearsome in form, they were masters of craft and creation. They shaped wonders with the breath of volcanoes and the strength of storms. It was they who would create the treasure that marked Zeus as king. The lightning bolt was born in fire and cooled in heavenly winds. They drew sparks from the earth's core, glowing threads of eternal flame. With hammers that rang like thunder, they shaped light into form. The result was not a weapon alone, but a masterpiece of beauty. It gleamed like a star, yet could stretch across the boundless sky. When they placed it before Zeus, it was more than power they gave. It was trust, a recognition of wisdom and leadership in his hands. The lightning bolt became the emblem of his reign upon Olympus. It was a promise of balance, a reminder of divine presence above. Imagine the first mortals who saw it flash across the sky. To them, it was not mere storm, but the sign of a watching God. The bolt could warn, but it could also comfort and inspire awe. Its brilliance was never meant for cruelty, but for clarity and truth. Artists carved Zeus holding the bolt, radiant and strong as the Sunday. The vision was not of terror, but of majesty guiding the heavens. To the Greeks, the bolt was energy, life, and the spark of creation. Every storm echoed this spark. Every flash recalled the gift of Zeus. The Cyclopes, often forgotten, were the hands behind his greatest symbol. They gave him not just a tool, but a bond between worlds. The lightning bolt tied Zeus to earth, to heaven, and to mortal awe. Whenever storms lit the sky, people remembered its sacred beginning. They saw not destruction, but creation. Not fear, but the touch of gods. The gift of the bolt was never about raw power alone. It was about purpose, guidance, and the spark of order itself. When Zeus raised it high, the sky glowed with eternal promise. A promise as old and steady as Olympus itself. The sky was never just a backdrop for human life. To the ancients, it was alive, shifting, and speaking through its moods. When the sun shone, they felt blessing. When clouds gathered, they sensed power beyond reach. For the Greeks, the sky was the throne of Zeus. Every storm was a message from the king of gods. Each roll of thunder echoed like his voice across mountains. Each flash of lightning was his brilliant signature. To mortals, storms were awe-inspiring and humbling. A farmer prayed the rains would bless, not destroy, his crops. A sailor looked to the heavens, hoping seas would stay calm. The sky touched all lives, rich or poor, strong or weak. Zeus, keeper of the skies, held a role unlike any other. The sea was Poseidon's, the underworld Hades, but the sky was endless. By commanding storms, Zeus was master of balance itself. Gentle rains could bless. Thunderclouds could remind of humility. Myths say Zeus never acted without reason. Storms carried meaning, not random outbursts of force. A sudden bolt reminded mortals of promises not to forget. Heavy rain could bless the harvest and caution against pride. For the Greeks, storms were moments of connection to Olympus. When lightning lit the night, they whispered prayers to Zeus. When thunder rolled, they told children the gods were speaking. The sky itself was a bridge between divine and mortal. Every person shared its light, its storms, its wonder. This gave Zeus's role unmatched weight among the gods. The clear blue dawn was his gift to humankind. The midnight flash was his reminder of divine presence. He was inescapable, inspiring respect more than fear. Imagine standing on a hill as storm clouds roll in. The wind rises, carrying the scent of rain to the earth. The sky flickers, then cracks with a brilliant strike. The sound follows, shaking ground, echoing in your chest. In that instant, you would not doubt Zeus's presence. Yet storms were not only signs of might, they were gifts of renewal, washing away dust of summer. Rivers filled, air turned fresh, and fields came alive. Through storms, Zeus gave warnings, but also life itself. The sky reflected Zeus's dual nature as king. It could be calm and radiant, or mighty and commanding. It could inspire awe, yet nurture the living world. It demanded respect, yet offered abundance in return. The Greeks saw storms as reminders of balance. Too much sun could burn the earth. Too much rain could drown it. Through storms, Zeus kept harmony alive in creation. In art, Zeus appeared among clouds, light at his back. Poets called him the one who held the heavens in his gaze. Depictions showed both majesty and vastness of sky itself. So when storms swept across Greece, it was never just weather. It was a story unfolding, a reminder of the divine. The people did not only fear storms, they revered them. They listened. They watched. They remembered Zeus's presence. For in every thunderclap and every drop of rain, the sky carried his promise of balance and renewal. It was the steady hand of Zeus, the king of gods. High above the earth, where clouds gather, stands the throne of Olympus. It was not built by mortal hands, but born as a symbol of vision. It was the seat where Zeus reigned as king of gods. The throne was more than a chair of power. It reminded all that Olympus was not only a mountain, it was a bridge between the divine and the mortal world. Here, the gods assembled to share counsel and make choices. Here, decisions shaped the fates of mortals below. Picture the summit wrapped in white mist at dawn. The air is crisp, alive, with a silence that feels sacred. At the center rests the radiant throne, touched by golden light. It was not a seat to rest, it was the heart of order. From this place, Zeus watched the world unfold. He saw seas shimmer under Poseidon's command. He saw the underworld kept in Hades' care. He saw forests, temples, and cities rising with devotion. Every prayer and offering echoed upward toward his throne. The throne of Olympus was not seized by force. It was earned through trials, wisdom, and strength. The gods honored him as the one who held harmony. And so the throne became both crown and duty. The Greeks imagined it as magnificent and shining. Some said it was woven with clouds and sunlight. Others believed it was carved from celestial stone. All agreed it was unlike anything of earth. What mattered most was not beauty, but meaning. It was where justice was measured and balance restored. When mortal rulers judged fairly, they echoed Zeus's seat. Olympus stretched its hand into mortal life through justice. From his throne, Zeus was never distant. He listened, he watched, He guided from above. Storms carried his messages. Peace carried his calm. Other gods respected the throne's central place. Hera stood beside it, queenly and wise. Athena brought her counsel of clarity and truth. Hermes carried words from throne to the mortal world. Each god had a role, but Zeus's throne united all. It was not dominance, but a place of gathering. Olympus was a council, a divine family of voices. At its heart, the throne stood for unity. The vast sky was shared among gods and mortals. Mortals found inspiration in the image of the throne. They built temples as echoes of Olympus on earth. Statues of Zeus seated with lightning reminded them of order. Even in turmoil, balance could be found above. For Zeus, the throne was also a burden. It was not escape from duty, but its constant call. To sit upon it meant trust of gods and mortals. It was as heavy with responsibility as with honor. The throne of Olympus lived as a lasting symbol. It told of harmony between sky and earth. It whispered that true power is also responsibility. When Greeks gazed at Olympus crowned in clouds, they saw more than stone. They saw the home of gods. At its peak stood the throne that held the sky's ruler. It was their assurance that above chaos was order. Above noise and struggle, wisdom held steady. The throne of Olympus stood as the seat of Zeus. It was the eternal reminder that balance and unity shape the world. When the skies darkened and the air began to hum, mortals knew they were about to witness something beyond their control. Thunder rolled like a deep drum across the heavens, and with each echo, hearts stirred in both awe and wonder. For the ancient Greeks, thunder was not just the sound of the sky. It was a voice commanding, alive, and filled with meaning. They believed it was Zeus himself speaking from the heavens, reminding the world of his presence and authority. The rumble of thunder did not come alone. It was always followed by lightning, a flash of brilliance that split the darkness and lit the earth in silver light. Together, thunder and lightning formed a divine performance, stirring reverence and awe in every heart. Thunder was the rhythm, and lightning was the spark. Together, they revealed the unseen hand of Zeus shaping the balance of the world. But thunder was more than power. It was also a lesson. It reminded mortals that the universe was vast and filled with forces greater than themselves. It called upon them to live with respect, to honor the natural order, and to remember their place within it. The Greeks listened closely to the patterns of thunder. A distant rumble felt like a gentle reminder, a soft word from above. But when thunder roared overhead, shaking mountains and valleys, it felt like a declaration or a warning. Each sound carried meaning, and people tried to understand what Zeus was saying through the skies. Farmers prayed when thunder rolled across their fields, asking for rain, for fertile soil, and for life to bloom again. Sailors on stormy seas called upon Zeus when thunder roared, hoping for safe passage in calmer waters. In every echo, they felt the nearness of the divine. Even philosophers sought meaning in thunder. They wondered if the sound was not only natural but symbolic, a reminder of how small human life was compared to the cosmos. Some said thunder was like wisdom loud enough to be heard, yet mysterious in its depth. And always, thunder carried the presence of Zeus. Without him, it was only noise. With him, it became sacred. The gods too listened when thunder filled the sky. It was a reminder that their king was awake and watchful, present in the affairs of the cosmos. Just as lightning was his hand, thunder was his voice. Together, they worked as signs of divine harmony, light and sound, power and presence. Mortals did not always tremble at thunder. Many found comfort in it. A distant roll reminded them that Zeus was near, ensuring balance would remain. Thunder was not only fearsome, it was protective. It reassured mortals that the king of gods was never silent or absent, but present and guiding. The skies, filled with thunder, became a bridge between the mortal and the divine. Every storm was a dialogue, every echo a word, every crash a reminder of cosmic order. When the Greeks looked upward during storms, they did not only see clouds, they saw the presence of Zeus woven into the fabric of the sky. His voice rolled across mountains, valleys, temples, and cities. Each time it came, the people listened, reminded of a higher harmony above their struggles. Thunder was never just a storm. It was the sacred voice of Zeus. And in its echoes, mortals heard an eternal truth. The heavens were alive, and balance was always being restored. When lightning split the sky, mortals did not see it as random. They saw it as a sign powerful, purposeful, and deeply connected to the will of Zeus. To the Greeks, lightning was never just light. It was judgment, sudden and clear, revealing truth where shadows lingered. In every streak of brilliance, they saw the hand of justice from Olympus. For mortals, the world was often uncertain and filled with strife. Kings ruled with pride, cities clashed, and ordinary lives were caught in the storms of choice. In such moments, lightning reminded them that order existed beyond human struggles. It was swift and unmissable, a mark of clarity in a world clouded by doubt. Lightning struck like a decision, cutting through hesitation and fear. Where humans argued endlessly, lightning showed truth could not stay hidden. Priests in temples looked to the skies when judgment was needed. If lightning flashed, it was taken as Zeus's answer, his verdict in light. This belief gave lightning sacred authority. It was not chaos, but order from the heavens. Wherever it appeared, people sought meaning and direction. In stories across Greece, lightning came at turning points. It ended disputes, confirmed oaths, and revealed the will of the gods. When kings swore promises, a flash of lightning made choices certain. It was not only about fear, it was about trust. If Zeus sent his light, mortals believed the path was clear. The sudden brightness reminded them lies could not endure. Philosophers reflected on lightning as a mirror of justice. Was not justice sudden, undeniable, and beyond human control? Like lightning, truth cut through shadows when revealed. Thus, lightning became not only a sign of might, but also of order. Mortals learned that justice must be swift, not delayed. It must be clear, not hidden in confusion or pride. And it must be universal, stretching across lands like the heavens. Artists carved Zeus with his lightning bolt in hand. It was not destruction, but a radiant scepter of authority. The bolt glowed as the torch of justice in their minds. In poetry, lightning was compared to revelation. It came without warning, yet none could deny its brilliance. So too was justice sudden but always illuminating. When mortals saw lightning, they reflected on their lives. Were they honest? Did they keep oaths? Were they fair to others? Lightning could not be ignored, just as truth could not. Zeus's lightning was not distant. It guided hearts toward justice. Parents told children lightning was a reminder to be truthful. Elders told leaders it demanded fairness and wisdom. Every flash became both warning and blessing. It called people back to harmony and balance. Thunder was the voice of Zeus, but lightning was his verdict. It was brilliance that cut through doubt and dishonesty. It reminded mortals that justice was alive in the world. For the Greeks, storms were not chaos, but balance. Every bolt was not destruction, it was order restored. Lightning carried not only light, but truth itself. And in its sudden glow, mortals saw the justice of Zeus shining across the heavens. When the Olympian gods settled on their thrones above the clouds, their presence shaped not only the divine world, but also the daily lives of mortals. Among all the powers, none stirred greater awe than the lightning of Zeus. For farmers, sailors, and wanderers, each flash across the sky carried the weight of divine attention. It was never just nature's brilliance, it was a message written in light. Some saw it as a warning, sharp and sudden. Others welcomed it as a blessing, bright and hopeful. Most lived with both feelings at once, trembling fear and deep reverence. A shepherd, watching his flock, might see a distant strike and whisper a quiet prayer. A farmer, longing for rain, would welcome thunder as a sign the heavens remembered him. A weary traveler could find comfort in a blaze that lit the path, even if only for a heartbeat. Lightning became Zeus's signature, etched in fire across the vast canvas of the sky. Yet Zeus was not distant or deaf to mortal voices. From Olympus, he heard their prayers rising like smoke requests for strength, justice, and guidance. When storms swept over hills and plains, mortals believed Zeus was speaking back to them. Temples were raised high on mountains, where earth and sky seemed to meet. Altars crowned the hills, and offerings filled the air with their sacred scent. People gathered not only to beg for mercy, but to celebrate a god whose power made the world feel alive. Lightning was not just punishment, but proof that Olympus and Earth were forever bound together. Stories spread of how Zeus's bolts could settle disputes, reveal truth, or shield the innocent. If lightning struck near a gathering, people believed Zeus had cast his divine vote. Some rulers claimed their crowns with thunder as their witness and blessing. Others trembled when storms split the sky, fearing the god's silent warning. Thus, the presence of Zeus guided mortal order as firmly as it did the heavens. And yet, beyond power, there was comfort too. Lightning meant mortals were never forgotten, that heaven still cared and watched. Even in hardship, they felt connected to something greater than themselves. When thunder rolled, fear lifted into reverence, for Zeus was near. With his lightning, chaos was kept at bay, and harmony touched the world. So mortals lived under skies alive with mystery, each flash a reminder and a message. Every strike of lightning carried the eternal voice of Zeus, reaching from the heavens to earth. In ancient times, mortals believed the gods were not only rulers above, but guardians of truth itself. And among all gods, Zeus stood as the supreme witness to every word spoken. When promises were sealed or disputes resolved, mortals called upon Zeus to watch their oaths. For them, lightning was not only nature's spark, but the blazing eye of a god who could not be deceived. Picture a council of elders gathered beneath a heavy sky, tension in the air. Each one raises a hand to the heavens, swearing truth before the unseen presence of Zeus. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning tears across the clouds, thunder rolling through the hills. Silence falls, and all believe the storm itself has answered their vows. To lie under such a sky was unthinkable, for it would dishonor not only men but the king of Olympus. Communities built rituals around this belief, swearing vows under Zeus's watchful gaze. Marriages, treaties, and trade agreements were sealed with prayers to the Thunderer. Leaders climbed mountain peaks or stood in temple courts to swear loyalty beneath the open sky. They called upon Zeus to strike them should they betray their promises. This practice was not born of fear alone, but grounded in trust and reverence. To swear by Zeus meant words carried weight, and promises gained a sacred foundation. Poets sang that Zeus's lightning was not only fire, but light shining on truth itself. Thunder became not only a sound of power, but a voice of assurance and justice. It reminded mortals that their bonds were guarded by the ruler of gods and men. For common people, this brought comfort in a world of fragile trust. If a neighbor swore by Zeus, they knew the oath was watched by the heavens. If a leader promised peace under a stormy sky, hope bloomed that gods would hold him to it. Even when skies were clear, Zeus's unseen presence gave weight to spoken vows. Every oath tied mortals to Olympus, weaving trust into the fabric of daily life. Each flash of lightning wrote invisible lines between heaven and earth. Through this, Zeus became not only the lord of storms, but the guardian of honesty. For as long as thunder rolled, mortals knew words were sacred, not just sounds. In the silence after the storm, they felt the echo of responsibility. And every oath lived on under the watchful eye of Zeus, keeper of truth. The ancient world was filled with mystery, and mortals searched the skies for answers they could not find on earth. The rising sun, the turning moon, and the stars above all carried hidden meanings for those who watched. But nothing stirred their hearts more deeply than a sudden flash of lightning splitting the sky. To them, it was not mere weather, it was a sign, a message, a glimpse into the will of mighty Zeus. When clouds gathered and thunder rolled, seers and priests prepared themselves to listen. They climbed temple steps, their eyes fixed on the storm, waiting for the heavens to reveal their voice. The storm was a scroll, and lightning was the handwriting of Zeus written across the sky. Every strike, every thunderclap, every blaze of light carried meaning that could not be ignored. A flash to the east might promise growth, new journeys, or blessings upon the land. A strike to the west could warn of endings, challenges, or trials yet to come. Lightning over a city might signal approval, while a storm breaking a festival could mean disfavor. In this way, every flash became sacred, every rumble a message from Olympus. These signs guided choices both great and small in the lives of mortals. Rulers sought omens before founding cities, declaring peace or marching to war. Farmers watched the skies, praying for the right moment to sow their seeds. Travelers whispered to the heavens, asking Zeus for clear paths through uncertain roads. This was not mere superstition, but faith that the king of Olympus was guiding them. And in that belief, mortals found comfort, for their lives felt bound to the vast heavens above. Across Greece, sacred groves and open-air temples stood where storms often gathered. There, rituals were offered to Zeus, asking for lightning as a sign of his presence. When a strike lit up the sky, the crowd gasped, as if the god himself had stepped among them. It was not only fear they felt, but awe, wonder, and a trembling sense of connection. The storm was alive, and through it, so was their bond with the divine. Poets spoke of lightning as the letters of Zeus, truths written in fire across the world. Others said thunder was his voice, calling mortals to listen, remember, and revere. Though interpretations differed, the heart of the message remained the same. The gods were near, life carried meaning, and no moment was without purpose. Every storm became a chance to feel close to Olympus, no matter how far away it seemed. Every flash of lightning reminded them they were seen, guided, and never forgotten. Through the storm, Zeus was not distant. He was present, mighty, and alive. His power roared in thunder, his light burned in lightning, and his voice echoed in the skies. When the storm finally cleared, and the air grew still, mortals lifted their eyes in gratitude. They saw not chaos, but order, not fear, but reassurance that they were part of something greater. For in every strike, they believed they had glimpsed the will of Zeus. And in every echo of thunder, they heard the promise that they were never truly alone. The people of ancient Greece did not only fear the lightning of Zeus, they celebrated it with festivals, turning awe into joy and reverence. These gatherings were not moments of terror before storms. They were occasions to remember that lightning could bless as well as warn. The greatest of these celebrations was the Olympic Games at Olympia. Here, mortals honored Zeus through contests of strength, speed, and devotion. Athletes prayed before entering the field, asking for his favor. The Thunderbolt, sacred symbol of Zeus, appeared on altars and statues. When lightning split the skies above, it was a sign that Zeus was watching. If thunder rolled, crowds believed it was the god's mighty cheer. The games were more than sport. They were acts of worship. Poets recited verses of praise. Priests offered gifts of gratitude. Families gathered. Merchants traded. Friendships were renewed. The storm was not a threat, but a guest of honor at the feast of life. Across the land, smaller festivals rose in groves and mountain shrines. In Dodona, Zeus was worshipped among ancient oak trees, whispering his will. When lightning flashed there, silence fell. Hearts lifted in awe. It felt as if Zeus had stepped down to share the day with his people. These festivals welcomed all farmers, children, elders, kings alike. Harvests were shared. Laughter filled the air. Stories passed through generations. Through song and dance, mortals felt joy in honoring the Stormbringer. They believed Zeus, in turn, blessed them with fertile fields and safe journeys. In Athens, the Panathenaic festival honored Athena yet revered Zeus. Torches blazed through the night, fire mirroring lightning from the sky. Streets glowed, as if heaven had given its light to mortal hands. Festivals carried not only joy, but also memory across generations. They reminded mortals Zeus was not distant, but alive in their lives. The Thunderbolt was not only a weapon of might, but also of celebration. Every cheer and chorus showed mortals living with awe and gratitude. Perhaps that was the greatest meaning of these gatherings of faith. That storms could inspire not only fear, but thanksgiving and joy. That lightning, fierce and brilliant, could be seen as a divine gift. Festivals taught mortals to embrace both mystery and wonder of life. They reminded them that storms carried light as well as shadow, and that in thunder's voice, one could also hear the song of joy. Through these sacred days, mortals lived beneath the blessing of Zeus. Year after year, the celebrations became more than events in time. They became living threads in the great tapestry of faith and devotion. In this tapestry, Zeus was not only mighty but also joyful. He was honored in thunder and lightning, in games and gatherings, and in every heart lifted to the skies. His presence was alive. In ancient Greece, an oath was more than a promise. It was a sacred bond, tying the heart of a mortal to the gaze of the gods. To swear falsely was to risk angering Olympus itself. Above all, it was Zeus who stood as guardian of oaths. When mortals swore by sky, earth, or even the river Styx, Zeus bore witness. Every vow carried weight, for lightning itself was listening. The thunderbolt reminded all that no secret could hide from his sight. To break an oath was to invite the storm of consequence. Temples across Greece marked vows with sacred rituals. Priests led supplicants to the altar, where words of truth were spoken. The flame symbolized the eternal fire of the thunderbolt. As smoke rose, so too did the words carried to Olympus. Mortals swore loyalty in marriage, honesty in trade, faith in friendship. If their words faltered, the breach was felt by men and gods alike. Even the immortals were bound by oath. Deities swore upon the river Styx, never daring to break their word, for even gods faced penalty decreed by Zeus himself. Thus, oaths bound mortal and divine worlds together. They were threads of truth woven into the fabric of existence. Words shaped destiny, and promises forged paths the soul must walk. Zeus was the guardian, watching each vow beneath the open sky. Kings who swore true prospered and found peace. Those who lied saw their fortunes wither like leaves in a storm. The lesson was clear. Every oath was sacred. Lightning was the seal of Zeus upon every vow. Even the smallest promise echoed across eternity when spoken in his name. Villagers, traders, and rulers alike trembled as they raised their hands to the heavens. For the sky was not empty, it was the throne of Zeus. Every vow was heard. Every promise was remembered. Oaths gave mortals a way to live with honor and truth. They were bridges connecting human hearts to Olympus. Zeus was not only enforcer, but protector of trust. Through him, words held power, and relationships found strength. Through him, the invisible became eternal. The Greeks gazed upward with reverence, knowing their words mattered. As long as Zeus reigned, lightning would flash as the mark of truth, and thunder would echo, reminding all that the guardian of oaths was listening still. When we think of the gods, we often imagine their power, their gifts, and their shining victories. But hidden beneath every tale lies a deeper truth, the endless tension between order and chaos. To the Greeks, chaos was not just confusion. It was the beginning, the formless void from which the universe itself was born. From that emptiness came Gaia, the earth, and Uranus, the sky. Life, balance, and destiny found their first breath in the heart of chaos. Yet chaos never disappeared. It lingered, waiting, pressing at the edges of the ordered world. The gods of Olympus knew this was their greatest challenge. Not just monsters or titans, but the tide of disorder that could undo creation itself. Zeus bore this burden most of all. His thunderbolts silenced rebellion. His decrees built harmony. But his role was more than power. He stood between freedom and structure, between wildness and stability. Too much chaos, and the world collapsed. Too much order, and life itself grew rigid and lifeless. Each god reflected this balance in their own way. Athena, born from Zeus's head, embodied wisdom and justice. But her birth cry split the sky, reminding us that even wisdom comes from chaos. Apollo turned noise into harmony with his music and light. Artemis thrived in wild forests, free of rules, showing the other side of balance. Dionysus embodied joy and freedom, yet too much of him dissolved all boundaries. In him, the line between order and chaos blurred into a dance without end. Mortals also lived within this fragile balance. Cities and laws gave stability, but hearts longed for the wild, for festivals, for the unpredictable sea. Life was never just one or the other. It was always both structure and freedom, stability and change. This struggle was never meant to be won. It was meant to be lived. Even gods could not master it fully, for they too were part of the dance. Prometheus defied Zeus, stealing fire for humankind. Chaos, yes, but from it came progress, creativity, civilization itself. Without that spark, humanity might never have grown. Chaos became the seed of growth. Hera guarded marriage and family, holding order close. But her struggles and jealousies showed how easily chaos could enter. Even the most sacred bonds could be shaken. The Greeks did not see this as failure. They saw it as truth. Life was never perfect, never unbroken. It was a cycle of falling apart and coming together. Chaos slipping in, order finding its way back. These myths hold a mirror to us. Plan too tightly, and we lose the spark of surprise. Let go too much, and we lose our ground. The task is not to conquer one side, but to walk the line between them. That is why these stories endure. They are not just tales of gods, but reflections of us. They remind us that every storm brings renewal, and every calm holds the promise of change. The struggle between order and chaos is not an enemy. It is the rhythm of existence, the heartbeat of the world. It is the pulse of creation itself. As long as we live, it will shape our choices, our paths, and our destinies. High above the mortal world stretched the throne of Zeus, resting in the endless sky. The Greeks believed the sky was alive, a watchful presence over every moment of life. Every sunrise, every storm, every bolt of lightning was his voice reaching the earth. He was more than ruler of Olympus. He was guardian of balance and order. Through the sky, Zeus spoke a language mortals tried to understand. When harvests failed, eyes turned upward in search of answers. When sailors set out, they read the clouds, hoping for Zeus's blessing. A calm sky promised safety, while dark clouds warned of unseen trials. And lightning sudden, brilliant, undeniable was the clearest voice of Zeus. It was not always punishment. Sometimes it was a warning or a blessing. Always it carried meaning, a message from the sky to the earth. The people believed lightning revealed truth and exposed hidden deeds. A false oath might invite thunder, and injustice might meet his shining bolt. In this way, Zeus was not feared as cruel, but honored as protector. Mortals lived with the belief that the sky held memory of all things. It carried their prayers, their secrets, and their choices to Zeus's gaze. Temples rose toward the sky, their columns reaching like outstretched hands. Priests watched the heavens, waiting for thunder to confirm sacred vows. When lightning struck nearby, it was seen as Zeus himself speaking. But his role was more than warning or reminder, it was also giving order. As he once separated earth and sky, he also set human boundaries. He kept seasons in rhythm and wove justice back into broken places. He stood guard so chaos would never fully overtake the world. Stories of his lightning spread far across lands and generations. A farmer saw a bolt at his field's edge and called it blessing. A traveler recalled a storm steering him away from hidden danger. A king feared thunder above his palace, sensing divine inspection. For mortals, the lightning was never random, it was alive with meaning. And so, Zeus was never distant. He was present in their daily lives. Every storm was a reminder that gods and mortals shared one sky. Every flash was proof the heavens listened and replied to their world. This truth brought comfort, but also deep responsibility to the people. They were free to choose, but never free of the sky's response. Their actions reached upward, and the heavens returned their answer. Zeus's watch became more than myth. It was a rhythm of life. When thunder rolled, they did not hear weather, but a god's concern. When lightning split the clouds, they saw a vow of divine order. He was the Skywatcher, listening, speaking, reminding mortals of their path. And so each time brilliance cracked the sky, they bowed their heads. They remembered life was lived under the gaze of Zeus eternal. The thunder was his breath, the lightning his voice of truth, the sky was his throne, and its rhythm was the heartbeat of order. When the Greeks looked to the heavens, they saw more than an empty sky. They saw Zeus, present in the rolling clouds, the flashes of lightning, and the deep rumble of thunder. To them, Zeus was more than the king of Olympus. He was the guardian of order, the voice of truth, the reminder that balance must always be preserved. The myths of Zeus's lightning were not just about power. They told of connection between mortals and gods, earth and sky, order and chaos. Each bolt of lightning was more than a natural display. It was a sign that the universe was alive, listening, and responding. For the Greeks, this belief shaped daily life. Farmers trusted the sky to bless their fields with rain and growth. Sailors studied the clouds, reading them as guides across uncertain seas. Rulers measured their choices against the will of heaven, knowing thunder could echo their mistakes. Yet Zeus's lightning shaped something deeper than rituals. It shaped the human imagination and the search for meaning. It taught that the world was not random. Even in storms, there was order, purpose, and a message to be found. It reminded mortals that choices mattered, that justice was alive, not as an idea, but as a force moving through the world. Even today, when lightning splits the night, we pause in awe. Its brilliance carries an echo of the ancient voice the Greeks once heard. We no longer picture Zeus seated upon his golden throne, yet the wonder he inspired still lingers in every storm. Every culture has looked upward for answers in the sky. For the Greeks, Zeus became that answer, a reflection of unseen order and truth. His lightning, swift and bright, was a symbol of revelation. Clarity could arrive suddenly, like light breaking through the darkness. It showed that power, when used to protect harmony, could be a blessing. The legacy of Zeus's lightning still endures. It lives not only in myth, but in how we gaze at the sky today. In storms, we feel nature's strength, untamed yet meaningful. In the silence after thunder, we sense truth resting in the air. Zeus's story reminds us that balance is never simple. It is always a dance between chaos and order, freedom and responsibility. His lightning embodies this dance, a force that destroys yet also guides and renews. The gods live on through the stories we tell. Zeus remains alive, in thunder, in storms, in the voices of the sky. His presence lingers in the rhythm of creation and the awe of those who look upward. The Greeks gave us more than myths. They gave us a way to see the world as full of meaning and alive with divinity. In Zeus's lightning, they heard the clearest voice of all, a voice reminding us that life is fragile, powerful, and mysterious. A voice calling us to live with respect for order, freedom, and the balance of the world. Even now, when thunder rolls, we become part of that ancient story. We stand as the Greeks once stood, listening to the sky in awe. And in its brilliance, we still hear the voice of the thunderer, the eternal legacy of Zeus.